Note to listeners, this episode contains language that some may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you for listening to the City on Fire podcast. The following special bonus episode will discuss solutions to some social ills addressed during the series with outreach workers and voices you've already heard as Rochester searches for answers. The ice cream truck tune is known worldwide. When children hear the truck riding down their street, they dart toward it. The energy is similar when Josh Knobloch and Sasha Mesropov walk through Rochester on a hot summer day. Knobloch and Mesropov are outreach workers with MC Collaborative, a care agency that assists individuals facing significant mental health, physical health, and addiction issues. Monday through Thursday, the duo is accompanied by other volunteers and social workers as they walk through Rochester's most economically deprived neighborhoods with food, clothes, harm reduction tools, Narcan, condoms, recovery options, and ice cream. This is City on Fire, the USA Today Network podcast on the effect rising temperatures have on public safety. I'm Rob Bell, a reporter for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. This is Episode 5, Ice Cream. I walked with Josh and Sasha during one of Rochester's hottest weeks to experience how they build relationships with people who can't escape the sun. Here's Josh Knobloch.
I do a lot of outreach and getting things for people that they need.
And how long have you been doing these outreach walks?
Over a year. I started last spring when I was still running the pantry. I was bringing snacks and food and stuff, and now that I work for them, I do it every day. Boss, you want a lunch or anything? Sir. Give us 1 second. We got the cart with lunches right there, and we give you frozen breakfast sandwiches. Will they let you use the microwave in there?
They should.
Okay. We'll get you some of those too. Harm reduction supplies or addiction resources, housing, and then basic needs like food, clothing, hygiene, things like that. You want some stuff? Come on. Okay, let's get one more bag ready for him. It's mainly about building relationships and trust because a lot of these people are in a tough time in their life, have been through a lot of rough things, so they might be leery to trust people, but them seeing us the same time every week at the same place, actually having something to meet some of their immediate needs, and then the ability to either help them navigate systems for long-term resources or to provide some resources ourselves as far as getting them into shelter, housing, or treatment, I think is the most important aspect of what we do. Any weather, any day, we're out. Yeah. So much of this was these damn spinach wraps, which is not most people's favorite. Here, hand that to them so they can put one of each.
Yeah.
This one. If you go to this gray cart right there, she's got some water and snacks. Monroe, we have some people in need of housing, and it's mainly alcohol that is the main thing we see being used, with other things sprinkled in. On Lyle, there's more victims of sex trafficking and things like that. There is drug use, but you don't find as many syringes and stuff. Wednesdays on Jefferson, there's less people in need of housing. It's more people that just need some snacks and some water. I don't think we've ever found a needle or anything over there. On Thursdays for North Clinton, you find a lot of people in need of housing or shelter and basic needs, and also we pick up dozens, if not hundreds, of needles on those days. No want water or snacks or anything? Okay, cool. They're going to catch up, so if you come right here, they'll come to you. We have Narcan with us always, Tuesdays and Thursdays, so Lyle and Clinton are our biggest days that people actually use it, and typically on Clinton, people will tell us, oh yeah, I just used mine, can I get another? Because there's just a higher rate of OD.
Larry? Ooh, they got my favorites.
Yeah, I got it.
I've been looking for them.
I know, I had their endorsement.
Pumpkin bread, whatever it is. I love them motherfuckers.
And there's 2 in there and then 3 more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And a lunch and a water and fruit.
Oh, yeah.
And a pair of socks.
All right.
You know, I have a lot of shared experiences. Like growing up, I grew up in Section 8 housing, on food stamps, all that. When I lived in New York City, I lived in the projects. Like, I've been on food stamps and cash assistance. I've lived out of my car. I've been to jail. So, like, I can relate to a lot of the experiences that these people are going through. And also, like, it's, I guess, just my nature to sort of be able to interact pretty seamlessly with people from all different backgrounds.
Anyways, I appreciate everything you guys do for me and anybody else, and you have a blessed day.
Well, thanks for coming
Stay
by.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Here's Sasha. Here's the... Oh, this was the rest for him.
This is Sasha Bezrapov.
I always wanted to do something that was more focused on like addiction and substance use because I have a lot of history of that in my family. Like, we have a guy that I've known out here for like years. Like, when I first started at Trillium, he would show up at the Harm Reduction Services office, which is like the needle exchange. And he wasn't shooting, so he would never come in and get like needles or anything. He would just sit out on the parking bench or on the picnic table because he smoked crack. So he would just come and hang out. And I saw him for years. Like, earlier this year in my new job, we ran into him and he finally was like, hey, can you help me with housing? And this guy has been homeless for like a decade probably. I'm not going to say his name, but a lot of people in this like field would probably know who he is. And he's got his own apartment now. He's working a steady job. He went to treatment. He's got a girlfriend. It's always possible. If somebody, I think it's like the right place, right time kind of thing. Like, they also have to be in the right mindset. And have to have the right services. Letting people know that you're gonna be there regardless of what they do, like, because that's what I try to make people know, like, no matter how badly you screw up, like, I'm always gonna be here. Like, if you want help at some point, like, I'll take you to rehab 1,000,000 times because I know that one day it might stick.
Rehab stuck for Gary Hardin. He's the outreach worker that introduced us to TT on Joseph Avenue in episode 2. Everybody knows Gary. Here's TT and Justin from episode 2.
How does it feel when you see Gary?
Excited and happy. I'd be happy to see him because I know it's like good vibes. It's nothing bad when I see him.
Good.
Yeah, and I only met him a couple times, and I never forget him.
Gary's a fantastic gentleman. Love him to death. Me and him have sat down many times. He can give you the shirt off his back.
Harding offers support based on his own experience with addiction.
And I was really bad, doing a lot of raver drugs, ecstasy, drinking Special K, Coke, not a lot. And I ran, my brother came and picked me up to take me down, move with him, and sober up. I don't know. I just drank, and I loved it. I drank a whole liter of vodka the very first time I ever drank.
Wow.
And then I had no fear of anything, so it didn't matter what it was, how much it was. I would do it, and I couldn't get enough ever. At 19, I got into crack. And I had actually come up to the city with a friend to get weed, and I saw him buy. We were on the side of the street, and I saw him buy. I didn't know what he bought, but I knew it was different. And then he was smoking it and just handed it to me, and I did it. And that was the worst year of my life. For a year, all I did was crack. I didn't drink. I wouldn't do anything but crack. Worst year. As soon as I took that last hit, even before it was done, I just remember that feeling of just complete despair, hopelessness, depression, like every negative feeling that you could have. I overdosed the last time that I used, and it was pretty bad. I don't remember. The last thing I remember was just like feeling like a way that I had never felt before, and I just knew it wasn't good, and I was fading, until I, passed out or whatever. I don't really remember anything, but ultimately it landed me in the ICU, and then the psych ward for an evaluation. I spent a week in the hospital, and I knew I had a problem. Like, that was never an issue. Like, I knew it wasn't normal the way I drank and did drugs. So when I got out of the hospital, I just was like, all right, I need to, take it easy for a little bit, because my mom was down there in North Carolina, and she had had to go like an hour and a half to the hospital. I was down in South Carolina when I overdosed. So put her through hell, and she literally just stayed there at the hospital, and I don't remember anything. Well, I first went to NA, and that was too much for me to talk about the drugs.
Okay.
And so I tried AA, and that was cool. That was they generally speaking don't talk about drugs in AA. The group that I started going to was pretty cool, and they're fairly relaxed and would talk about drugs a little bit, but not like NA, you know.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, you know, I listened to everything they said in AA, which is, you know, get a home group, a sponsor, and a service position. Service position is just doing something for the group, like coffee maker, greeter, whatever.
Yeah.
And I did all those things, and I kept going and just kept listening, and you know, and then next thing I knew, you know, I mean, I've got 6 months, a year, multiple years, and so I think I don't think AA is the only way, for sure. It worked for me. I think what I would say is responsible for my success would be like the principles of AA that can be done anywhere, but community, right? Unity. I've got always had a great sober network. Service. So I don't really go to many meetings anymore, but like I'm contributing to my recovery in this way. So I'm being of service to others, showing them, you know, like that it is possible. They can recover too. Yeah. You always hear people joke about how the heat like brings out, you know, the madness, and there might just be some truth to that, you know. I would say for sure the potential for violence is definitely greater during the summer months, or, you know, outside of the winter, for sure. I mean, it's just a fact.
Like, you should be safe, but also be precautious. Like, be aware of your surroundings, type stuff. You know what something's gonna go wrong when, like, your gut telling you something's going wrong. If you look at the area, you feel something wrong. Like, stick to your gut, type stuff. Then leave the area, or like go somewhere else. Like, relocate. Y'all can still have fun. Y'all still get lit. Just relocate somewhere else. You're not being pussy. You're not being bitch.
When it comes to solving summertime murders, cooperation between the community and the police can help foster better solutions to the problem. In 2020, those relations took a significant blow after the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police and the local death of Daniel Prude, a black man in the middle of a mental health crisis after his encounter with Rochester police. This is violence intervention specialist Anthony Hall speaking at a march for Prude.
What's his name? Daniel Prude! What's his name? Daniel Prude! January 6, 2021, 99% white men and women get to storm the U.S. Capitol
and walk out
and met with no resistance.
None.
Left unharmed.
Escorted in.
A black boy can walk down the street and get killed by a cop.
Black girls can get pepper spray.
Babies, black girls, pepper spray. And here's the reality. Most of y'all, life will go on. The Prude family life it stopped. It stopped. March 30th, it stopped.
Officer Moses Robinson.
You know, it's interesting. When we had in Rochester the Daniel Prude marches, Anthony was one of the leaders of the marches. And Anthony and I used to go head to head, right on the front line of the marches. 500 people or so behind him, 207 cops, mobile field force behind me. And we used to go head to head.
Cousins Cameron Mixon and Brian Boose have their own thoughts on police relations.
I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I'm not saying every cop is bad, but like, I don't fuck with cops in general. Like,
Me and my little man's just chilling. We walk around. I live right down the street from the U of R, bro. Okay. Me and my little man's just chilling. We bored as hell. We walk around the U of R and shit. These niggas pop up talking about something. Put my son on his teeth. Split his shit in half. Yeah. All that. Like, yo, what the fuck? Interrogating him and all that. These, mind you, it's all wild, unnecessary shit. Didn't read nobody in Miranda rights. I'm just like, yo, there's mad shit going on that even I know is not supposed to be happening. You got him detained already. What you slammed him on his face for? His front tooth split in half still right now. He in there chilling. His front tooth still split in half. Like, no consequences to that nigga. And then we wasn't even doing nothing. We just got a trespassing ticket. All that for that? For real?
A couple probably pull you over for looking suspicious or whatever, but G shit, he wanna fuck with you. But niggas still get detained, niggas still get handcuffed, niggas still get slammed on their neck, their back.
Officer Moses Robinson's job is to bridge the community in the police department.
The image of profiling African American males in particular, with the image of a drug dealer or a kid who's a gangbanger, and understanding what that image looked like and training officers in terms of real talk. It's like really this is an image, but it's not the reality. And so we can combat that with doing positive relationships, positive conversations, engagement, having that difficult conversation between youth and policemen.
During the Pride marches, Robinson had those difficult conversations with Anthony Hall.
And we used to argue on the front line and blah, 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 blah. And we used to go at it. And it's interesting because we talk about how we handle disputes, right? Here are two people, one's an officer and the other one's a activist, going head to head. 500 people behind him, 200 people behind me. Anthony and I are best friends.
In 2022, Anthony Hall was named the Director of Pathways to Peace, a City of Rochester program that dispatches a street-level team to provide support and nonviolent alternatives for youth resorting to violence to settle disputes. During Hall's tenure, shootings and homicides went down in Rochester, according to police data. He credits the stats on the work of his team and other credible messengers in the violence prevention space. At the time of my interview with Hall, he had announced days earlier that he was leaving the position.
We did some great work in the short time that I was there, 16 months. I do equate a lot of the work we've done to the reduction of what we see in our city related to violence, particularly gun violence. Even though Pathways responds to all violence, but the gun violence that you've seen in our city can be far worse. And the men and women of Pathways of Peace that put their lives on the line daily to interact, to stop a beef, to stop a shooting, to calm folks down, put in some pain, man, in order to do that.
He is now the CEO of Community Resource Collaborative, a nonprofit working with young people who have been impacted directly and indirectly by all forms of violence.
What Anthony and I come to an agreement is that we want the community to be safe. We want our community to be vibrant. We want our community to be protected. And people should never be afraid of the people who are supposed to protect them. I recognize not only the God in Anthony, but the work that he can do with God's intervention for the reason why strategically he came into my life. But I understand Anthony. So that's what we want to build in our community, the capacity to disagree intelligently, and at the same time, we don't have to agree with each other. But we ain't got to kill each other either because we disagree.
Yeah. Not only does the weather affect your emotions, right? When it's raining, you kind of down, whatever. And you see that, and you feel it. Or you hear people say, oh, my knees hurt. It's about to rain. You know what I mean? Or the snow coming and, folks, you start seeing folks color change. But I think if we engage as a community, as a human race, to impact the quality of life, if we engage to do that holistically, man, we do change the planet.
I noticed something while walking with MC Collaborative on Clinton Avenue. Out of all the resources the group had available, the free ice cream excited folks the most.
You want an ice cream, hon? You want ice cream? Hey, we all were children once, right? You want ice cream, hon?
Oh, she wanted an ice cream. Gabby, are you out of ice cream?
Chocolate, strawberry, or some fruit stuff.
Yeah, you want an ice cream?
You'll have to reckon about that.
I think we got maybe a water left.
Ice cream.
Oh, an ice cream.
Well, a wise man once said these words. He says, "The will to live is stronger than the will to die." I know that a lot of times our kids can be frightening, especially kids that you don't know. If you're living in a community where there's kids, one of the best ways to engage a child is let him be a child. Feed him, talk to them, buy him ice cream. Because some of us have grown up like man-child in the promised land, never allowed to be a child. You know, and sometimes, you know, you don't know the pain of what those children have gone through and why they're acting out the way they're acting out. I think the best practice for us is to recognize that they're still kids. They still want to be kids. They've been forced in some cases, like me, to be an adult. But, you know, buy them ice cream. Buy them ice cream.
Thank you for listening to the City on Fire podcast. Let us know how you felt about the series with a rating and a comment. We appreciate your time. The City on Fire project can be found on various sites throughout the USA Today network. This City on Fire podcast is part of the USA Today Network Northeast Human-Centered Climate Crisis Project called Perilous Course, directed by New York State Enterprise editor William Ramsey. This podcast was produced by me, Rob Bell, a reporter for the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, and USA Today Network Northeast Regional Multimedia Director Sean Oates. Special thanks to Moses Robinson, Cameron Mixon, Brian Boos, Anthony Hall, Josh Knobloch, Sasha Mesropov, Gary Harding, Tiana Magnon, and the entire team at MC Collaborative and the Montgomery Neighborhood Center.